Hey everyone, it's Michelle Dawson, Nurse Deb from Halloween Ends. You are turning into Cineifier. You can follow me on Instagram at It's Michelle Dawson. Let's sit down by the fire and chat.
Why, hello, everybody. This is Eric Vornoff, host of the Cineifier podcast, where horror lives and you survive. I'm here with my very special guest, the daughter of the Frankenstein monster himself, Boris Karloff, Sara Karloff. How are you doing today, Miss Karloff?
I'm fine, thank you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. So, let's get to my first question. Have you seen the Ed Wood movie starring Johnny Depp? Your father was mentioned in that movie. If you have seen it, what were your thoughts on it?
I saw it quite a while ago. Yes, when it close to when it first came out. Yes,
And what were your thoughts on it?
I thought it was creative. Baylor Jr. and I are great friends, and so he had told me about it. I had nothing to measure it against as to its veracity. I think it gave credit where credit was due.
Alrighty, thank you so much for answering that. So, anyways, my next question: how do you feel about the original 1931 Frankenstein becoming public domain here soon?
I think Universal Studios will have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, especially considering that the original movie is one of their biggest hits.
Well, yes, it is, and they have not treasured it as they should have. And what year does it become, PD?
In 2027.
I hope I live that long.
Well, only one way to find out.
Is to do it.
So, what are your thoughts on modern cinema with the superhero craze? Can you see the Frankenstein monster fitting into that realm?
No, because the monster really was the victim and not the perpetrator, and responded to um, violence. He didn't create violence of his own volition. And I think today's films are violent for the sake of violence. I think they insult the intelligence of the audience. They don't invite the audience to use its imagination. I think they dump the gore right in the laps of the audience. So I think we're talking about two different animals.
Have you ever read the original Mary Shelley Frankenstein novel?
Yes.
And what were your thoughts on it?
Well, I think it's a work of art. I think it's amazing for the time frame in which it was written. I think it uh, certainly has stood the test of time. It is cherished as a iconic novel. Um, I don't think the film followed the storyline. It wasn't intended to. It's a shame it didn't. I think it's a brilliant work of writing. I think it's amazing for someone her age to have written it. Um, all those things.
Yeah, I believe she was 18 or 19 when she wrote it.
Correct. Like 18, 19, yes.
So, what were your father's hobbies outside of acting?
he was he was very well educated man. He'd been educated for the consular service in Great Britain. So he was an avid reader. He loved gardening. He loved animals. At one time, he and my mother had 22 dogs in Beverly Hills. Um, he adored the British game of cricket. He thought his favorite thing to do was to attend a cricket match in England. Um, but reading and gardening were great passions of his. Um, he enjoyed being with people and listening to them. He was a great listener. He was a very kind and funny man. Marvelous British sense of humor. His He enjoyed cooking, but most of all, I would say reading and gardening and animals, children. He was wonderful with children. So he had a great many interests outside of acting, but he was a consummate professional and always well prepared whenever he was working.
Well, your father sounds like he was a very lovely man.
He was a wonderful human being.
And you're a very lucky person to get to have him as your father.
Indeed, I was.
So, what family vacation do you remember you and your father going on?
My father was a huge, he loved to work, so vacations were a rare occurrence.
Did you and your father ever have a family pet?
He at one time, he and my mother had a pig named Violet.
Okay.
Um, he had a, we had a couple of cats. He had some turkeys. Um, we had lots and lots of pets. He and my mother bought the first Bedlington Terrier dog. It's an English breed. They brought the first Bedlington Terrier over from England to the West Coast in the 30s on board ship. It's a breed that looks like a lamb and isn't.
Well, that's pretty cool. So, my next question is, was your father ever a fan of terror films?
Preferred the word terror to the
Uh-huh.
word horror. And he didn't prefer films for their genre, such as terror. He preferred them for their quality of content. If it was a good musical, if it was a good drama, then he would enjoy it thoroughly. But just for the sake of terror, no.
So, I know that your father did the animated version of The Grinch, but did you ever see the other versions of The Grinch with Jim Carrey and Benedict Cumberbatch?
My theory is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think the animated one was superb, and no, I haven't seen the others.
Well, I'm definitely glad that you and I agree on that. So, my next question, if they ever made a biopic about your father, who would you cast as your father?
Jeremy Irons.
Ooh, that's a really good choice.
Yeah, I think he would be superb in the role. They have done many documentaries on my father. Um, there is a new one, a relatively new one, out now on DVD, and it won a Rondo Award. And the extras on the DVD have just been nominated for a Rondo Award. It's an excellent documentary done by Thomas Hamilton and Ron McCloskey.
Okay.
Um, it's um, really a fine documentary, but they've not. There never has been a biopic. There have been, um, probably 8 or 9 biographies written on my father. The best of which, in my opinion, is one done by Stephen Jacobs, a British author, called Boris Karloff, More Than a Monster. And it's wonderful.
So, what are your favorite movies that your father did?
My favorite movies of my father's, Targets is probably my favorite, the one he did with Peter Bogdanovich. I like the ones he did with for Corman, Roger Corman, um, The Raven, and A Comedy of Terrors, because he had such a good time working with Peter Lorre and Vincent Price and Basil Rathbone. Those those guys had known each other and worked together before, and they had such a good time spoofing their own boogeyman images. I like some of my father's very much. I liked his stage work with Julie Harrison, The Lark, and Peter Pan on Broadway. Um, I didn't have a chance to see him in Arsenic and Old Lace on Broadway, but I did get to. I have seen reproductions of Arsenic and Old Lace, and it's a wonderful play. I loved his children's albums that he recorded, about 20 of those. I love those. Rudyard Kipling and Hans Christian Andersen and wonderful fairy tales. As I said, he was wonderful with children. So I liked a variety of his work. I enjoyed, of course, his iconic films, the three Frankenstein films that he made. So, for a variety of reasons, I like a variety of his work.
Your father had a very diverse film career.
He certainly did.
So, what were some of your father's favorite foods?
He loved sand dabs. Um, he loved flank steak. He loved smoked salmon, cucumber sandwiches that he would take to the cricket matches in England. He was a healthy eater, but he enjoyed good food.
Have you ever done any acting yourself?
I've never done any parts. I've only done interviews and documentaries, but I'm not an actress.
So, what are some roles that you would have liked to have seen your father do that he never got to do?
I can't imagine because he had such a diverse career. I know the one thing he wished he'd had an opportunity to do was do a play on the London stage, and that's something he didn't get an opportunity to do. But other than that, he had no regrets. So certainly, I have no regrets for him.
How would your father feel about modern day Hollywood?
I think he would think it was pretty tasteless and common.
And what were some of your father's favorite movies that he ever talked about?
He didn't bring his work home, and he didn't talk about other actors or much about the film industry. He was one of the founding members of the Screen Actors Guild. His card was number 9, and that was something that he felt was very important to give up and coming actors an opportunity, a vehicle by which they could have their rights protected. But as far as the films he enjoyed, I know one of his actors he admired very much was George Kennedy, and he felt he was really a very fine actor. And fortunately, I met Mr. Kennedy and had the opportunity to tell him of my father's admiration of his work. As far as films, I'm not sure which were my father's favorites of other actors. One of his actors he admired very much was George Kennedy, and he felt he was really a very fine actor. And fortunately, I met Mr. Kennedy and had the opportunity to tell him of my father's admiration of his work. But as far as films, I'm not sure which were my father's favorites of other actors.
So, besides the obvious answer of any of the Frankenstein movies that he did, what do you think was his best role?
Oh, I think The Body Snatcher was a fine film, fine performance. Um, and I know he was very pleased with Peter Bogdanovich's creativity and talent in putting together the film Targets, which was which unfortunately is as timely and appropriate today as it was when it was released. It's a film about a sniper and violence on the streets, and I think it reflected my father's own opinion that the real violence is on the street, not up on the screen.
So, you mentioned earlier about how your father was really into reading books. So, what were some of his favorite books?
Joseph Conrad was his favorite author, and my father was such a voracious reader. His reading covered just a huge variety of literature.
So, what was your father's dream role?
Well, I think he was very grateful for the pivotal difference Frankenstein made in his life, both personally and professionally. But I don't think he ever turned down a role because he loved what he did. He felt he was so lucky to be able to spend his life doing something he truly loved, which was acting. and then be paid for it.
Yeah, I mean, your father did a lot of hard labor work, and then he didn't get his big break until he was in his 40s. So, what's very inspirational about your father is that it only goes to show just never give up.
That's absolutely right. Frankenstein was his 81st film, and as he said, nobody saw the first 80. And he was an overnight star after being in the business 20 years. So he had paid his dues. He loved what he did. He was grateful for every opportunity he had been given. He had worked hard before he became a known entity, and he loved the business he was in
Yep, because if you're not going to do what you want to go do, then you're just wasting your own time.
and everyone else's.
Yep, yep.
I also loved your father in the Mr. Wong series.
That that was an interesting series. They never had a script completed before they started shooting.
You mentioned prior about how Jeremy Irons should play your father in a biopic, which I absolutely do agree that he would be a really good choice, especially since he has a similar face to your father and even a similar body type. But I guess if they ever wanted to go younger, they could go with Benedict Cumberbatch. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Makeup does wonders. Ask any woman.
I love that answer. So, about makeup, it's a real shame by what happened to Jack Pierce after after he did the Universal Monster movies, because he did such an incredible job with like creating these amazing designs for all these characters.
Oh, he did indeed. My father always said he was an absolute genius, and he was. Without that makeup, that role would have been completely different and not iconic. And he was treated very badly by Universal.
That really is a shame. And I heard a similar story with Bela Lugosi and Universal.
It's a big corporation. Well, my father um, had a long run there and a very successful one. So we'll leave it at that.
Yep, and on a lighter note, the story of your father really does go to show that if you love something, fight for it.
Absolutely. And I think that's a good note to close on.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Sarah. It was really good to get to know your father more, and there was so much more to your father than just being the Frankenstein monster.
Oh, absolutely. But that can be said of every actor.
Yes, yes.
My father was a lovely human being, and I'm blessed to have been his daughter. And thank you for this interview. I appreciate it very much. I always enjoy meeting his fan base, and I always enjoy talking about him. So thank you very much.
You're welcome, Sarah. It was a huge pleasure. So, on a closing note, is there anything that you would want to plug in?
Well, we have a web page. It's Karloff at karloff.com, and it's the home page. It's up on the web, and we have some wonderful products up on there. And we have letters from fans, and we have some wonderful art up on there giving exposure to Karloff artists. And so we invite everybody to visit our webpage. Thank you very much.
Well, I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, Sarah.
Thank you. You too. Thank
Yeah,
you
of
for
course.
inviting me on your show.
You're welcome, Sarah. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Stay scared and stay cinified.
Hey,
Hi there.
Simba.
Hi there. How are you, sweetheart?
Oh, good. Hey, Simba. My dog is spoiled.
So is mine.
Hey, Simba. Hi.
Hi there. Hi there.